What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the New Orleans Pelicans MyLeague in NBA 2K17. And today we have reached a very critical point of the season, the trade deadline, but it's also close to the All-Star break as the All-Star participants have been announced. So we will be covering some stuff around the league in this episode, as well as what moves we will be making at the trade deadline, because there will be plenty of them. So let's get into it. So you can take a look at the Eastern Conference. Minnesota with the number 2 seed, Oklahoma City number 3 seed. A couple surprises toward the top, but overall, not really a lot of shock in terms of the standings. The only two teams that I was super surprised by were Dallas and LA being as low as they were. Dallas is like the third or fourth worst team in the Western Conference. Here you can take a look at the West. Few surprises. The Knicks, Detroit not really contending. The Magic are in a playoff spot right now, and the 76ers, I believe, are also in a playoff spot. If not, they're the number 9 seed. But anyway, we'll move on now to taking a look around the league, and playing together has not hurt Steph Curry and Kevin Durant's stats, as they are 1 and 3 in the league in scoring currently. DeAndre Jordan blowing away the rest of the field in terms of the rebounding title, going to assist. Russell Westbrook with 11.5 per game, averaging almost a triple-double, just 0.7 of a rebound short, and he also leads the league in steals per game. So that's an MVP stat line if I've ever seen one, but you never know, he might not win it. They might give it to one of the Golden State guys. Blocks per game is going to be Rudy Gobert with 2.5 per game, and we'll look at a couple more stats as well as field goal percentage. DeAndre Jordan, again, pretty much blowing away the rest of the field, although Tristan Thompson is making a run at that title. And Kyle Korver shooting almost 50% from the three-point line. A few other guys are above 45% too. Lou Williams, CJ McCollum, and J.R. Smith are all having crazy good years from the three-point line, and Chris Paul is leading the league in free throw percentage. Now taking a look at the Pelicans individual team leaders, we got Anthony Davis leading the team with 22.8 points per game, Drew Holiday at 17, Buddy Hield averaging 16.7. He's been turning it on lately, but he will miss the next few games with injury. And Anthony Davis is also leading the team in rebounding, 11.5 per game. Omer Ashik and Thomas Robinson are up there as well. Drew Holiday averaging 7 assists per game. Tyreek Evans with almost 6, as the screen might be glitching out right now. I'm sorry about that. But Buddy Hield also with 4.5 per game, and a pretty solid all-around year, as he also is averaging a steal per game too. Drew Holiday leading our team in that category with 1.7. And take a look at blocks right here. Anthony Davis, 2.4 per game. Dante Cunningham is second on our team, so we're not getting a lot of very good rim protection out of our big men so far on the year. Now looking at field goal percentage, Omer Ashik, Anthony Davis, Alexei Achinko leading the way, but Drew Holiday shooting 44% is our 5th best scorer from the field. Buddy Hield not having the greatest year from the field overall, but he is making almost 39% of his three-pointers in taking 6 attempts per game, so that's a pretty impressive stat line. And then we'll take a look finally at how our players are performing from the free throw line whenever I get to scroll over to that. And there we go. Drew Holiday making 90% and Buddy Hield shooting 85%. So very good rookie season out of him so far. And now we're going to take a quick look at the rookie report, because outside of one game that Isaiah Whitehead played where he scored 21 points, Buddy Hield is leading all rookies in points per game. But we'll take a look at the Rookie of the Year award race, and he's sitting at 3rd behind Ben Simmons and Brandon Ingram. It must really be the rebounding thing. Ben Simmons is having a pretty solid all-around year, not scoring a lot, but he's racking up rebounds and assists. But I thought that Buddy Hield probably should have been at least 2nd. I think that 17 points is a little more valuable than what Brandon Ingram is bringing to the table. But anyway, we're going to move on now and take a look at the All-Star game, as we'll take a look first at the Eastern Conference. Pretty good crowd here. Nicholas Batum, a surprise competitor. Chris Bosh, I did not remove him from the rosters ahead of time, so he was still playing as if he was just coming back normally. And Anthony Davis made the starting lineup for the Pelicans in the Western Conference, but outside of that, not really anybody for the Pelicans. A lot of new faces this year. CJ McCollum and Andrew Wiggins making their first All-Star games. Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine are at it again. This time Andrew Wiggins and Rondé Hollis Jefferson will be joining them. And a really good three-point contest crowd this year. Everybody's shooting over 42%. As you guys are going to hear my ringtone in the background, but we are going to move on now. We did some staff changes here. We fired our trainer to get a better trainer, and I noticed that we had a pretty hefty budget for all of these positions on our staff, and I didn't want to wait till the offseason when it gets super competitive just to maybe get an A guy instead of a B guy, especially because you get an extra training camp if you have a B guy or higher. So I'm definitely going to be going on ahead and making some staff moves right here as we fire our trainer and hire a new one first of all. we are going to be getting rid of our assistant GM, as he did not have very good ratings. And there was a guy here who had A- negotiations and contract negotiations and A trading, which was going to work out perfectly because we had the trade deadline coming up. And sometimes you can get better deals if your assistant GM has a higher rating. And we are going to make one last move. We're going to fire our CFO and hire this one who has A business and B potential. So that's going to pretty much do it for our staff moves right now. We are going to address coaching in the offseason, decide if we want to retain Alvin Gentry or if there will be a better candidate out there. But let's move on to the trade deadline moves now. And we didn't really go one consistent direction with this trade deadline, as you'll see later on. We kind of went in both different directions, rebuilding for now and the future with different pieces. But first, we're going to be trading Solomon Hill and Thomas Robinson to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a first-round pick, Ronnie Price and Nick Collison. I wanted to get an extra first-round pick in this trade deadline, and I remember that the Thunder were interested in Solomon Hill, and they originally wanted to trade me Andre Roberson, but I went after their first-round pick and Ronnie Price instead. I actually originally went after a second-round pick, but I just wanted to see if I could get a first-round pick out of Solomon Hill, and the Oklahoma City Thunder countered by adding Nick Collison in on their side and Thomas Robinson in on ours. So that's going to be two veterans joining our team for the rest of the year to maybe, show some leadership in the locker room, as well as giving us an extra asset for the offseason. And what I plan on being a pretty deep draft. Hopefully when the draft classes come out anyway, we can get a guy in the 20s, maybe even 30 if Oklahoma City wins the title, that can be a good contributor, can be developed into a good player for our team down the line. So I wanted to get a first round pick at this trade deadline, and we offloaded Solomon Hill's contract, which was another thing that I wanted to do either now or in the early parts of next offseason. So we accomplished 2 goals already, so now we just needed to get rid of our other expiring contracts. And I showed you guys a version of this trade in the very first episode when I was searching through the trade finder, and all throughout the season I knew this was the guy that I wanted when trading Tyreke Evans. We are going to acquire Denzel Valentine from the Chicago Bulls. I did not want to include Terrence Jones in this trade, but I wanted to keep Omer Asik because I think he's actually a more valuable trade chip in this game, because we can dump him off in the offseason to a team that has a bunch of cap space and maybe get a draft pick. And the Bulls would only do this with Terrence Jones. The other trade that I could have potentially done was to give Omer Asik and get Robin Lopez back, but I did not want to do that. I did not want Robin Lopez on the team whose contract was worse than Omer Asik's. And we are going to give up Terrence Jones and Tyreke Evans. We are also going to be getting back Taj Gibson in this trade, but that's where the third team comes in, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Taj Gibson will be reunited with Tom Thibodeau. They are going to give us back our second-round pick, which they had owned, and Adrian Payne. And I know this was kind of underselling Taj Gibson. Probably could have gotten a first-round pick for him from another team, but I wanted our second-round pick back, and we had to get Adrian Payne because every roster has like 15 players on it right now, so we just needed a guy to come back. Otherwise, Minnesota would have had too many players. We can just get rid of him in the offseason. And I really wanted to get our second-round pick back because it's going to be very high depending on where we finish. It's probably going to be in the top 5 of the second round, and you can get good players in the draft if you draft smart with early second-round picks. And so I wanted to get our pick back, and now we have four picks in the draft. We have 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders because we have, I believe, Memphis's. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think that's the second-round pick that we have, though. So that was really why I wanted to get Taj Gibson Taj Gibson. I wanted to give him to Minnesota. We get our own second-round pick back, and we are going to get Denzel Valentine. He is going to be starting at point guard for us, even though he's listed as a small forward. He has good playmaking and good shooting, and he's going to provide a size mismatch. And most of the reason that I'm going to be playing him at point guard will be explained with this trade that you will be seeing on your screen right now. And I had said that there was going to be a trade in here that was more rebuilding for now than the future, but this actually kind of helps with both. So I went to the Bucks initially as a team because I knew they had a guy that I liked in Chris Middleton, good perimeter defender and good shooter, very very integral to what we're going to be trying to build this offseason, which is going to be putting Anthony Davis in the middle and then surrounding him with shooters instead of what we're doing right now where we're playing 2 bigs. I want to play small ball. Chris Middleton is a good small ball 4, or he can really just a small ball wing, a guy who can shoot, a guy who can rebound, and a guy who can pass and defend. Very versatile. We're also getting Malcolm Brogdon, a guy that I really liked at Virginia last year, and part of the reason that I thought they were going to win the national title. until they lost to Syracuse, my favorite school, in the, I think, third round of 32. No, man, in the round of 16. We're also going to get Jason Terry, who's an expiring contract. The Bucks have a really big hole at point guard. They're one of the worst teams in the league this year because they have a lot of guys who are playing the same position, because two of their three wing guys are listed as small forwards. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, and Jabari Parker is listed as a small forward on this roster. So they have three guys at one position, and really, it's been said before, there's a considerable debate as to whether or not you can play all three of those guys at the same time, especially since, Jabari Parker and Giannis Antetokounmpo aren't great outside shooters. They also open up a spot for a couple of younger guys. Chris Middleton's already, I think 27, 28. You already know what he is at this point. They're going to get Drew Holiday, who, yes, is an expiring contract, but they have a hole at point guard, and they really wanted Drew Holiday. So I think this trade makes sense for both sides. Milwaukee can sign Drew Holiday to an extension, and he's going to take over at point guard for Michael Carter-Williams, who I believe is a 73 or 74 overall. So it's a trade that makes sense for both sides, and we're going to make out of it with Chris Middleton, who is going to be a very versatile piece of our team going forward. He does have an expiring contract, I believe, next season. I know it's not this year, but it will be after next season. We're going to work on getting him under an extension sometime soon. And I really didn't want to give up Quincy Pondexter, but he's struggled mightily for us this year. He's shooting under 40%, and he's shooting, I think, 30% from the three-point line. Our team has been kind of weak at the three-point line this year, even though we have really good three-point shooters. Our percentage is below 35% as a team. Eachwan Moore is only shooting 31, even though he has a 92 open shot three. So definitely going to be something that we want to improve. Quincy Pondexter have been struggling for us, and I was actually going to trade Tim Frazier in the offseason anyway, because I didn't want his another year at $3 million on the books, because that's $3 million that we could spend on a player who might actually crack the rotation for us. So they were pretty expendable pieces for me. I didn't want to give up Quincy Pondexter, but it was not something that was holding me back from making that trade. Same as the Terrence Jones situation in the other trade for Tyreek Evans. And here we're going to be making a minor trade. We had a kind of roster imbalance at the depth of the roster. We had too many point guards, and so we are going to be trading Jason Terry to the Oklahoma City Thunder for Josh Eustace. Decent outside shooter, really good defender, just a depth guy to have at the end of our bench in case of an injury, and possibly a longer term piece. He's going to be under a rookie contract for the next few years, so maybe he can develop into something useful. You never know. And now here you can take a look at the rotation. Denzel Valentine is going to be starting at point guard. Eachwan Moore is going to be in our starting lineup for a little bit because Buddy Hield is injured for, I believe, 2 more weeks. Chris Middleton at small forward, and Anthony Davis at power forward. Omer Ashik is getting time at center, a little bit more time than we've been giving him during the season. I wanted to give him a few more minutes. But Chick Diallo, Langston Galloway, Malcolm Brogdon, and I believe our other 2 players off the bench are going to be Nick Collison and Dante Cunningham. I couldn't show that. There wasn't enough room on the screen to show that at the end of the rotation. But anyway, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and it is going to be a big offseason for the Pelicans. We got a couple more gameplay episodes that left in this season, and I need to wait for the draft class that I want to use to come out. So definitely not in any rush to get to the offseason. But that's going to do it for this trade deadline. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time for more Pelicans My League in NBA 2K17.